Today, as you can see, we are back working on the Twingo. So we just managed to get a couple of jobs finished, which we'll just put a link to, and you can go to my channel and watch them. And decided we were going to try and do a little bit more on the car if possible. And we got quite a lot to do, and I ain't really got a lot of time. So what we've done is we've pulled it on my race ramps, and then we've got the scissor lift. The only downside is I'm still struggling because I can't lift the car because all the sills are bent. So what I've decided to do is, as you can see here, we put the car on the race ramps, and this is the middle part of the race ramps we can remove. So now we've probably got a good foot, probably a bit more, so we can actually get a little bit of leverage, whereas before I was lying on the floor and trying to do it when the car was jacked up. So this is the plan today, or as long as I've got. Obviously you can see my steels as well. So this is my mez floor. So this is like a work in progress again. We've got the steels in, I've just got to try and batten it out. Again, it's a little bit overkill for what I need, but I'm thankful to my friend who got it for me. And yeah, so that's going to give me a little bit more space on the top to store stuff. And that gives me a little bit more flexibility downstairs to put cars. So what else was I going to do? Oh yeah, so the other plan is I've brought a few little things. Let me see if I can find it. I don't know where it's gone. I brought me a little 18-volt impact driver. Now this probably isn't going to, I thought it was going to be slightly bigger than it was, to be honest. It's a Milwaukee one. It's got a 3-year guarantee. I didn't pay a lot for it, to be honest. But hopefully this is going to help if there's any bolts that are a little bit sticky, should we say. So if I can give this a good squirt, just to give it a bit of, a bit of a hit, and then we can use my long breaker bar to try and get rid of bolts. What I don't want to do is start snapping heads off bolts. So we've got that, so that's going to be a little tool that's going to help us. And again, if we're doing under trays and things like that on wheels, that's going to help. So we brought that. And then also with the sills, what we're going to do is, we've just got this little gas burner. So we've been trying to do it on the floor and it's worked quite well. Obviously there's undercoat on there and I don't want to scrape all the undercoat off because I'm not really body shop. And at the minute, the body shops are really busy. So I'm going to have to try and do as much as I can on my own. So we've got just a little gas burner and there's a bit of gas left in. We're just going to try and heat, get a little bit of temperature in there. And then I have got a pair of mole grips and also a little portable vise, which has been working really well because I've got more surface area to grab onto. A pair of mole grips are only that wide and you end up bending. If I need to, you'll see what I mean. It's really pushed right up against the body. So what I need to do is get the mole grips to move it down to about, a few degrees. Then I can get this on there, and obviously it gives me a lot more flexibility because of the width. And then I can slowly start teasing it down, if that makes sense. It'll kind of all come together when you see the underside. But again, I've got that, which is going to help me as well. So that's the plan. If I can work, the driver's side's worse than the passenger side, so if I get most of the driver's side done to a fairly decent level, then what I'm going to try and do is see then if I can actually jack it up and hopefully they won't bend. I hope. I don't know if it will or not. If not, we're going to try and do the rear, because what I really want to try and do is get the rear beam off. The brake calipers have seized, so I want to get those off and send them off to get refurbed. And then I reckon I can get that done in probably 3 or 4 days. I found a local shop blasting place, which is fairly local to me, and also they're able to do with a third party wet paint and powder coat. So potentially, if I could get the rear subframe off, all the brake lines, all the brake lines took off, and then I can send it to them, I think I might be onto a winner. But I need discs, and then I'd need pads, and then I'd need like hell brake lines that I'm going to get. So there's a few things that I need to buy, but what I want to do first is we're going to use something called Deox gel, which we'll come back to, which you might have seen, and it just helps remove some of the rust. So what we're going to do, we're going to get some gloves on, we're going to put that all over the bolts and the brake lines, leave it for a few hours, give it a good agitate, and then hopefully that's going to remove any rust that's on there, because what I don't want to do with the brake lines, again, is turn them, because they're brass, or brass or copper, I can't remember, you'll be able to tell me. What I don't want to do is turn it and then just snap them off. So that's the plan anyway. It's quite a lot to do. So what I'm going to do is get changed, put my shorts on and get my scruffs on, get my goggles on, and then we're going to go down and I'll show you the driver's side sill. So let's hit it. So this is what I'm working with. So this is towards the back of the driver's side, and this isn't so bad. It's a little bit bent over, and it's starting to split, but I want to really push that. But as you'll see, as we slowly turn it round and start to get to the front, can you kind of see how bad that is at the front? And how damaged it is. So that's the plan. We really want to try and get those little bits curved round first. So that's what we want to try and do. And then as your car starts to come a little bit closer, it's not, doesn't seem to be so bad, but it is bad. But you know, this isn't too bad. So, and again, moving around the back, I'll show you quickly the subframe and the rear brakes. As I say, these brakes are stuck on. Well, not stuck on, but they're really grabby, so the pistons are probably gone. As you can see, we need to refurb them. I'm not really sure what colour, maybe black. Maybe black, maybe red, I'm not sure. We need to get the hubs off there. Then the shocks are starting to go. H&R springs, we'll probably take those off as well because they're just so hard. But as you can see, the rust. And then as you go across, it doesn't seem to be so bad in the middle. It's still quite rusty. But yeah, and then it's the same on the other side. So that's the plan of action really on the subframe. Just typical old car and Renault. The only upside that I have actually got is it's got a Super Sprint exhaust. So this exhaust was about 800 quid. So, you know, that's nearly half of what I pay for the car. So that's why I think I need to keep it. But yeah, we're going to check it out, and obviously, as you can see, they're the same this side as well. It's just really rusty, so I'm going to light the burner. Now, I'm going to get a bit of black smoke off this probably, but it's just because the undercoat. Again, I'm not trying to melt it, I'm just trying to get a bit of heat in it just to make it a bit more pliable. Let's try that. So I'm just trying to tease it in little sections before I can get the vice on, as I showed you before. This is the main section here, where you jack it up. Let's get in there, innit? What I don't want to do, you know, when you get metal and you bend it backwards and forwards and then it just breaks off. That's the last thing I want to do. So then and with this as well, it might try and keep it square. It's pretty tight. Let's just move up here a touch. I need a screwdriver. I'm gonna get me a screwdriver. Just try and get rid of I might just try and get rid of this actually. The springs come in, and if this will come off, it might make my life a little bit easier, wouldn't it? This bit of undercoat. Because what it's going to do is burn. Okay. So it's got just to the metal, so that's good. What I'll do is I'll just try and have another go at this, and then we'll report back. Well, it's not too bad. It's not 100%, but it's not. It's loads better than what it was. At least it's nearly flat. Let's see if this holds. I'm not holding my breath, let me tell you. Maybe got out. So I've managed to get it in the air, but I don't think the sills are going to last. So what I'm thinking is, the front ones have started to bend again already. The back ones are just about holding. So I reckon if I can undo most of the bolts and stuff on the rear, I think I'll be able to get it outside and put it on axle stands. I think that might be the best thing I can do. So we'll see how I get on. So I've managed to jack it up as you've seen, but I'm not sure on the sills. So the backs look like they're holding up. So what I'm thinking is, if I can maybe undo the bolts or try and unseize the bolts on the lift because it's a little bit higher, make my life a little bit easier, I might take it outside and lift it up and then drop it on some axle stands and try and get it off outside. I think that might be the best bet, because again, I'm not sure 100% how long it's going to take. I said 3 or 4 days, but it could be a week or something, and then I don't really want that on there for a week. But if I could take the wheels off now and try and get underneath, start putting some deox gel on all the little bits and pieces, all the screw heads, or the threads, just to try and remove some of the rust, I think that's probably going to be a better plan than leaving it there and trying to do it outside. The weather is picking up slowly, so hopefully if I can get it off when it's dry, that should be pretty good. And then also I might have the opportunity to get the hot jet wash underneath as well. So I think that's a plan, but I'm going to take the wheels off now, and my hands and everything are absolutely filthy. The front sills are starting to bend in again slightly, so I'm just a little bit worried about those. So that's why I don't want to leave it on there too long. So let's see how I get on. So as you can see on the under arches, all this had this black protective coating on, which is fine, brilliant. Everything's working fine. These bolts obviously I want to try and replace, but then you start looking around and obviously we've got to take these plates off, and these are tricky because the bolts go up into the body, so you've got to take some of the trim off. And I had it on a Clio and they were a bloody nightmare to take off, so that's why I want to get some deox gel on them to try and remove some of the rust. And then I use my impact driver to see if I can get the heads off. That's the plan. So yeah, as I say, once it's off and I can send it away, it can go on pretty quick, I think. It's just trying to get all the brake lines, which look quite rusted as well. But it's just these brakes. They've, as you can see, they're really binding. And they probably won't be so bad once you start driving. But I think I need to get them refurbed really. Probably be the easiest thing to do to make a start. And then I can get new discs and start doing all the back end. And that's half the car done then, isn't it? So we got me trusty Halford's toolkit that I've had for about over 10 years. And it's not like Trigger's broom. I haven't changed many things. So this is basically what I've got to take most cars apart with. There's a few bits I'm missing because I think they're already out, so we've just got spanners and sockets. But yeah, I've had this, took quite a few cars apart, so it's done me well really. Touch wood, nothing's broke. I could probably do with a couple of different T25 and a T30 just because they're starting to round off slightly. But yeah, It's been a good workhorse really. So I need to find, I think it's a 13 and a 15 spanner. Okay, so I managed to get the caliper off, not too much trouble, which was good. Came off fairly easily. Again, they're just old and grimy, so they need a refurb, and then, like I say, I'm not sure if to paint them or, because if you paint them, they just tend to go like that. I'm not sure. Carriers, I've just undone the bolts, 18mm with a socket, which came off fairly easy, to be fair. He says. So yeah, they just came off fairly easily. And then we brought these brake line things because we've done this before. So these are really handy, just for the time being, just to stop all the fluid running through the system. We'll probably pump all the fluid through anyway, you just don't want it to keep dripping everywhere. And they come in this like little box, and you get all these different sizes. So they're quite good, they've been really handy. Again, they weren't expensive. So then the only thing I've got to do is try and get the handbrake cable through, kind of threaded through. But I might be able to do that as I drop the subframe. I can pull it forward and out and off, if that makes sense. So also the bolt that holds the shock in, that came off pretty easy as well, to be honest. I'm not sure if you can see inside there, we've added a little bit of Deox gel. So we're just going to let that settle, give it an agitate with a wire brush, and then see if those bolts will undo. So it's a little bit of progress on the one side. We're just going to try and see if we can maybe even get the carrier off, the disc off, and then oh no, I can't get the disc off because I need to roll it outside. Fucking hell, I just remembered. Oops, sorry for my swearing. So yeah, I'm just going to get the carrier off, and then I'll end up putting the wheel back on and probably pushing it outside, so I forgot about that. So I had a little trip to Halfords last night. Obviously we've got the inch drive on the impact driver, but I haven't got a 16mm or all the sizes, so I ended up buying a reducer. So I went to Halfords last night just to get a reducer, so that'll sit on there. And then I've got a lot of 3/8 all sizes, so that's going to give me a little bit more flexibility just to try and get the bolts on the subframe off. So we're just working on the driver's side now, and I wondered why the brakes were stuck on. One of them I could feel, and it's this side. So I've undone the calipers, I've took the brake hose off, and then if you can just kind of see behind, if I can get the camera in, basically the handbrake's stuck on. So we're just working on the driver's side, and we've undone the hoses, and I thought one of these was stuck on, and it's this side. So if you can just see where my finger is, this is the handbrake cable, and it's pulled in. That hasn't released back, so that's why this brake's binding. So I'm going to try and just push this back slightly with a screwdriver and a hammer. Hopefully it'll come back, but I don't know if the calipers are seized. But yeah, that's the issues I've been getting, that's why I could feel dragging. So the cable, the handbrake cable's just there, and obviously this, when you release the cable, that should just go back. So you pull the handbrake on, it goes back, and obviously it's stuck in that position. So I'm going to try and just give it a little knock, see if it'll come back. If not, we're just going to take the whole caliper off anyway, but at least that's another problem I found. Okay, so caliper's removed, and it's damaged even though this handbrake cable is quite flexible, well, it's not flexible, it still works, it's fine, it's just damaged the rubber. So potentially I might have to use these for the time being, because you have to take the heat shields off to get to the underside of the shifter and the handbrake, sorry. So I'm not really sure, my lift doesn't go up that high. So we're going to leave those in for the time being. We've got the bung, as you saw, on the brake line, which is working well. Calipers are off. All the bolts, luckily, are fairly loose, which is good. So what we're going to do, we're going to put it on its wheels, drop it down, roll it outside, and then we're going to jack it up again, and then I'm going to try and hopefully get this rear beam off if I can. fingers crossed.
Hi Judy, please could you give a shout out to our beautiful 4-year-old granddaughter Sophia to let her know we cannot wait to see her perform in her first talent show tomorrow in Abingdon near Oxford. She is so excited. Lots of love from Nana Gina, Granddad Steve, Mum Charlotte, Dad Asher, Big Brother Hayden, Nanny Christine and Granddad Ian. We are all so